welcome to all of our podcast listeners. This is the Tragedy to Triumph podcast with Dave Reaver. I am Kim Chapin, his lovely daughter.
My lovely daughter. And that you are, Kim. I want to start with good morning, Vietnam. But we won't do that.
You may strike terror in the heart of every Vietnam veteran out there.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of our special edition Tragedy to Triumph podcast because we're doing book reviews. And over the next, it could take us years to do, but we're going to go through each of the books that you've written, chapter by chapter, and kind of talk about the theme of the book, talk about the theme of the chapter itself. And for those who have heard you in person and have possibly seen, this book at the table, at the back, or a merchandise table, or bought this book online, you actually wrote this book back in 1992.
Yes, it's one of my earlier books, but it's been the most requested book to be bought and gifted to somebody else, especially teenagers.
Yeah.
It's a very, very difficult book to read. Not difficult because the content is boring. In fact, it's anything but boring. It is very, very descriptive. It's not for small children to read at all. It's not nasty. It's graphic about the damage done to our children. In public schools, I come across them every day.
Yeah.
The entire book, Nobody's Ever Cried for Me, is especially committed to the truth about our young people. And it's a prophetic book, inadvertently. I never wrote it thinking it'd be this many years, 30-something years, 34 years later, still being asked to be purchased. So had to bring it back out of archives, as it were.
Well, and this is the second edition.
Right.
We looked at just doing a reprint, which you've done over the years. I mean, we've reprinted this book countless times.
Yeah.
But we did make this. This is a second edition book, so this has got a new chapter in it. So, which we're not going to talk about that whole story of this chapter, even though it is the last chapter of the book. About Rosie, and you do share that story a lot when you
Probably the most famous story I've ever shared in my life. One of the turning points, probably the turning point of my life at that time that puts me at this table today. But the book, the first chapter of the book deals with identity, which I lost completely on the bank of a river called the Vam Cote River in the jungle of Vietnam, right on the border with Cambodia. You could literally throw a rock into Cambodia. Yeah. It's called the Parrot's Beak for all you Vietnam veterans, and especially pilots. Helicopter pilots are called in there a lot. We called in a lot of airstrikes of our Sea Wolves to come get us out of the tough difficulty I was in. I was on a little fiberglass riverboat, of all things, fiberglass. And
that'll stop a rocket.
Oh, yeah. You can shoot a rock through it, not a rocket, a rock through it. You know, I mean, it was really terribly fragile, and but very effective in the purpose for which it was built. But it's very dangerous, and it cost me that day on the bank of that river. I lost my identity.
Well, chapter 1 is called His Father's Eyes, and if anybody who's ever seen pictures of you before you were injured, which for those who are watching on our YouTube channel, when you go and you look at episode 1, our very first podcast episode, full-length podcast, there are going to be pictures of you before you were injured.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be really interesting for our viewers who have a chance to log in and, to look at it on YouTube. But there is a very strong family resemblance between you and your father, your brother, your children, my children.
My granddad. I actually knew my grandfather, who lived to be 103 years old. Yeah. But he and my dad, my brother and I, the two boys, and his children, those two boys were brothers. Your two daughters. Yeah. You look more like your mom, thank God, than you do like me. But reality is, there's a tradition that's handed down that's it's kind of like royalty. There's a bloodline that's been preserved and undisturbed and kept very pure through all these almost a millennium. Going way back 1,000 years ago, I've tracked our family history back to Charlemagne, which is no credit to our name today, but it's a part of our nature to look back on our heritage with pride and say, I am my father's son, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah. Well, these characteristics that I know physically you displayed, right? Because you look like your dad, who looks like his dad, who looks like his dad, most likely, right? But you also really talk about the spiritual qualities and characteristics that when you were in Vietnam, that, you know, when the hand grenade went off in your hand and you physically lost your identity, where did you go from there? How did you recover? Not just the physical man, you know, you were in the hospital for, you know, a year and 2 months, but how did you recover that spiritual man and recover that identity?
You know, I'm still recovering it.
Yeah, I know.
Miss Kimmy. Still. I look back and I wondered why they called me to Iraq and Afghanistan. Today, I think you're aware, and some of my friends, we have tens of thousands of followers on Facebook and constant contact and whatever. I don't know how to do all that stuff. I got people do it for me, but
a lot of social media.
yeah, they've kept up with me over the years, and they know that I work in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, UAE, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Bosnia, Kosovo, North Africa, South Korea, Okinawa, Japan, and countries that I don't even know where I'm sent. They don't want me to know. I maintain plausible deniability that I've ever been there because I don't know where I was. They don't want me to blab about people, our troops being in a place they don't want the country to know where they are. Well, all that to say this, I'm still looking for me. I'm looking for me in the smoke of a battlefield to come emerging out, changed to the best that I can be. And one of the greatest errors in my career has been trying to equate the physical man and the spiritual man. Well, the physical man's damaged beyond repair. I mean, my whole face was blown off. What wasn't blown off was burned, and but half of it, literally, over half was literally blown off to the skull. Eyelid and everything gone. Scorched eyeball, ear gone, mouth destroyed, never would be the same again. I'm describing it because I know that there's a YouTube channel, but the majority of our people are listening.
Yeah.
If you're driving across town to work this morning or this afternoon coming back from work, whatever your timing is that you tune this in, the guy talking to you understands what it's like to lose everything. Don't think that a podcast qualifies me to be something I'm not, that because we have a podcast or I've been on television for decades, and that doesn't qualify a man. A man's qualified by what he endures and comes out of, change for the better. And learning how to take the worst of the worst you've been through and transforming it.
Yeah.
Transforming it into something that can save somebody else a lot of grief if they go through it. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. So what happened on the bank of that river that day, to answer your question, very long, circuitous way to get there, everything changed that day. My appearance, I no longer looked like my dad. My eyes remained the same color, at least one of them did. The other one turned gray, and my eyeballs in the socket of my head were, after many, many years of being blinded during COVID pandemic, they said, well, we got nothing to do. Let's take you in and look at your eye. And they took off all the scar tissue. And lo and behold, I could see again out of both that.
Yeah.
The color came back. Here I am today with two blue eyes.
Yeah. And how do you, I know that it is an everyday thing for you to get up out of bed, making every effort to pull yourself together. And I know you make a joke about that, about, when you were on the bank of the river and you've got skin floating around you and you need to pull yourself together. We all laugh, right? A little uncomfortably.
I was
but
beside myself.
we all laugh and think to ourselves, is it okay that I'm laughing at that? It's, laughing at somebody else's pain is always, I don't know. I remember one time I stubbed my toe so bad. I broke it, actually. And when it happened, I hit the door jamb with my foot, and my right pinky toe just went a direction it should not go. And my husband is standing there, and Phil is, the first minute he hears me scream is like, and then he looks at me and burst out laughing. I about killed him. I was ready to tear him apart. I'm like, do you not laugh at my pain? And I don't know why sometimes we laugh at others' pain. Sometimes we give them reason to laugh at it. Others, it's just uncomfortable because we don't know how to react when somebody's hurt.
Yeah. But
I think, kind of going back to this book and why you wrote it, why there's personal stories in here, this is a story about kids. This is a story about them in school when you've met them over. I mean, you have been speaking in high schools, and I learned this today. I didn't know how long you've actually spoken in high schools.
Yeah. 1976 was my first public school to ever speak in my life. 8 million students later, I'm still speaking in public schools.
You just did a tour in Ohio.
Yeah, I just spoke to 12,000 kids in the Civic Center at Tulsa. Yeah. And this is not a religious occasion. These are all public school
that was
students.
FFA.
Yeah, the FFA. I still do what I was called to do. Let me explain something for you and our listeners. There's a picture on the screen there, an artist's conception of my face from the right angle. Now, that's very poor reproduction because nobody can actually reproduce the scars. But the ear's artificial, the hair's artificial, the eyelids are artificial. There's a little tiny hole for part of a nose that was pulled over by scars, and my mouth is all disfigured. I'm describing it for the listener that can't see it. You see, there's two places, Kim, to have scars. Whew. Two places. The driver going to work today is going to hide those scars every way he or she can, that people don't see the damage done emotionally. Scars on the inside. But the more you try to hide them, the more the scars become visible. Mm-hmm. Because in the effort to hide the scar, you're exposing the most damaged part of your psyche. Mm-hmm. By trying to hide the scar, you're exposing the scar.
Yeah. Your own insecurity.
Yeah, just the opposite is taking place. Yeah. But you look at that picture, and we've got other pictures we'll be showing other broadcasts, but I'm going to tell you, physical scars are a lot less damaging than the emotional scars. Mm-hmm. Your husband, for example, Phil, abused horribly as a child, abandoned by his parents. His dad was in prison. His mother was a prostitute. He grew up with 5 siblings. None of them had the same dad. See, his scars are on the inside. We did a tour together, Phil and I did, for 1 year for Promise Keepers. Yeah, we did a program called Breaking the Chains. We affected tens of thousands upon thousands and thousands more men who were scarred emotionally more than physically. I was scarred physically. Phil was scarred emotionally. Mine on the outside, his on the inside. I'll take the outside scars any day. People walk up to me and say, "What happened to your face?" Well, of course, I haven't responded. You say, "What happened to your mother?" You're uglier than me, never were burned. Good Lord, you were born and slapped your mom. How dare you bring this into the earth? But the fact is, when you have a physical scar, people look at it and they can even sometimes assume and be correct what happened. He was burned. Well, it's a burn-looking scar. How I got burned, that's a whole nother story, but I was burned. Phil was burned too. Not physically, but emotionally. And the thing I taught your husband when he was one of my young trainees, I mentored him to take that story of scars on the inside and talk to kids in public schools who 99.99% of them that are scarred emotionally. Very few of them scarred physically. I do come across some that were burned as children. Right. But he related those kids because his scars were emotional. And you can see it, you can hear it when he talks, you can see how it's affected all of his life. Well, mine affected me. And I'm sitting across the table from my beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous daughter. Was there anything else you want me to tell him? I'm sitting across the table from my beautiful daughter thinking to myself, I got you, didn't I?
You did.
Surprised you on that one.
I didn't even have a comeback for it, I except for, okay.
Okay. You could have said, I agree 100%. But the fact is, I lost my identity that day. And I have searched high and low, far and wide, all over the world. 90 countries I've searched for Dave. People keep saying to me, why do you keep going back to Vietnam? I've gone back more times than I count, probably 100 times or more. Mm-hmm. Why do you keep going? Well, I'm looking for my ear. It's in the bush somewhere over there, my thumb. I'm looking for my identity.
Yeah.
And you know what I found out? I found my identity in public speaking when I can be vulnerable enough that children will listen to me and say, if he can make it, I can make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this book, the title of this book, I've heard you say many times, like nobody's ever cried for me. It's not that nobody's ever cried for you, Dave
they
Reaver.
Cried because of me, but not for me.
But this originated from a story of a girl that you met.
She was 15 years old, Permian Basin High School. I got through speaking, and she tugged on my coat sleeve, saying, Mister, I got to talk to you alone. I said, I don't talk to girls alone, but if you get your counselor, we'll talk. And she did. We went to the counselor's office. He sat down far enough to be in earshot, but we would not feel like he was intruding.
Yeah.
She, just far enough for her to feel comfortable to spill the beans to me. And before I could be sat down completely across the desk from her, she just blurted it out. My stepfather raped me 3 times and I'm going to kill him. Kim, you know my story as well as I do. You grew up under my tutelage. You've seen me affected by a lot of things. You've never seen me more affected by children and teenagers telling me their stories.
Always moved your heart.
This one is on top of the heap. When she told me her stepfather raped her, I burst out in tears. She reached across that desk, dried the tear off my face, and said, nobody's ever cried for me. I still cry for that little girl.
And I know that
kills me.
Yeah. Your heart has always beat for the youth of our nation, whether it was in 1976 or in 2026.
Our first school, 1976, Goshen, Indiana, Goshen High School. I was asked to speak for the sociology department. And I'd never done that before. Before I knew what I'd done, I said yes.
Yeah.
I got there and I thought, good Lord, what have I done? Here I am scared to death of people looking at me. Now I got there's about 100 kids in that department. They're all looking at me. I shared my story with them that day, and I just poured my heart out to them, told them my story.
Yeah. Well, I want to read a caption. This is in chapter 1.
All right.
And I think this really sums up a lot of this chapter because you've talked about a lot of the physical trauma and some of the psychological trauma that you had walked through. But this is the end of chapter 1. It says, well, my face is gone. I wear a plastic ear and a synthetic hairpiece. My left thumb came out of my right hip. My right thumb is from my left hip. My upper right eyelid came from my lower right side. My lower lid is from my upper left shoulder. My face came off my legs. It was the doctor's second choice. Obviously, of location. I'm assuming of where that came from. His first choice I declined because you wouldn't know if I were coming or going. I am scattered all over myself. But my soul is not scarred. My spirit is not patched together. I can laugh. I can enjoy life, and I can share my life and laughter with hurting people, as you will see. To me, that is you in a nutshell. It has never been in your DNA, your characteristic, to be ashamed of who you are, what you believe in, and you've passed that down to my brother and to myself, and we've diligently worked to pass that down to our children. But to wear your scars proudly because you love America and you love the Vietnamese people.
I've always said this way. I'm proud of my scars and stripes.
You are. Yep, you are.
And I love the Vietnamese people. When you suffer for somebody, you don't throw her away when it's broke.
Yeah.
I'll tell that story one day, and that'll blow you away.
Yeah. Well, I love the book. It's been very exciting to read it again, to go over it with you. And I would encourage everybody to, if they want to read along with us, or you want to get the book and take your time working through it, this book is available on our website at daverever.org. We do have it up on the screen, DAVEROEVER.org. Nobody's Ever Cried for Me. We can get that sent off to you. But anything else you want to share about the book to encourage people kind of where they are?
Well, the thing I'd like to do is I keep having this image of the guy driving to work this morning, the girl coming home from work who is scarred on the inside. Things were done to her by people she trusted. Well, let's say by her own father or her uncle or her brother. I don't think I know what I'm talking about. I've been in this way too long. I've heard every story you can imagine. And our young women, many of them are so scarred, so damaged. It's like your husband always talks about that grocery cart full of cans with no label, dented, the throwaway food,
the bargain basement stuff at the grocery store. Yeah.
Damaged goods, 10 cents a can. You don't know what's in it till you open it. Well, we're going to open it right now. Right now, I'm going to open that. I just want to say to that broken heart that's listening right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're going to make it. Because if I can, you can. And I didn't make it because of who I am, because I'm not good enough to be my own healer. But I'm here because of whose I am. And Jesus is still the answer, Kimmy. We know that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to pray for you right now before you finish even getting home, maybe. Or if you're at home or in a hotel room and you put that bottle of pills down and push back that Jack Daniels and put down that gun. This one's for you, baby. This one's for you. Jesus, thank you that wherever a broken heart may be, you have found them. You were sent to heal the brokenhearted. Fix what's broken, Jesus. Do what only you can do. And give them courage to face another day, to never quit, to find you by a simple act of faith. And if you're listening right now and you'd like to join me in this prayer, just repeat after me. Lord Jesus, I thank you that you hear me when I pray. I was born in sin and I hate that stuff. Forgive me of all my sin. I believe you are the Son of God. I believe you're the only Son of God. I believe you lived for me, you died for me, and I believe you rose again from the dead for me. You gave yourself for me, then you gave yourself to me, and I receive you as my Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Listen, if you prayed that prayer, when you get a chance, why don't you drop me a quick note, daverever.org.
Yep.
Let me hear from you.
Awesome.
I'm Dave Reaver. I approved of this message.
Well, that's a wrap for our chapter 1 of Nobody's Ever Cried for Me. Again, if listeners want to get the book, you can go to daverever.org. Otherwise, if you like this podcast, we ask you to subscribe and like it and share it, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Talk to you later.
God bless.